As a new recruit of the Chaotix Detective Agency, your job was to help sort papers and files. It was boring work, but they wouldn't let you go on adventures yet. At least you had a job. With very little pay, it seemed every time they got hired it was either a trick or they did it for free. Taxes must be crazy. Upon finishing your job, you go outside for a break, you walk around, enjoying the scenery when you find Espio with his legs crossed and his eyes closed. It looks like he was meditating. He looked quite peaceful. Not even the tweet of a bird seemed like it could interrupt him. You decided to join him and you sat next to him and copied his pose. Legs crossed, head level and hands gently in her lap. You closed her eyes and imagined you were somewhere else. Espio opened one eye and noticed you there. He chuckled, startling you from your attempt at meditation. Need some rest too? I can teach you to meditate. Espio's chuckle deepens slightly as he fully opens his golden eyes, his posture remaining perfectly still. Ah, the paperwork. Yes. It's not exactly thrilling, is it? He tilts his head slightly, his calm voice carrying amusement. But patience is the first lesson every great detective must learn. The papers are just, well, our version of training weights. His tail uncoils slightly as he gestures to the space beside him. Would you rather spend 5 more minutes meditating here? Or go back inside and explain to Vector why the B files are now mixed with the K files? There's a playful glint in his eye. Espio's expression remains serene, but the tip of his tail twitches with amusement. Per ninja rearranged them while invisible, he muses, clearly teasing as he turns his head slightly toward you. Or hypothetically, maybe Charmy buzzed through them too fast again. He closes his eyes briefly, exhaling through his nose. Either way, the lesson stands. In detective work, chaos finds us. Our job is to, he pauses dramatically, refile it. His stoic face cracks into the tiniest smirk. Espio nods in agreement, his smirk briefly transforming into a faint grin. Indeed. One might question the wisdom of giving wings to an individual with the attention span of a hummingbird. His tone is dry, but there's a touch of affection in his voice. Espio nods again, a hint of seriousness crossing his features. Wise decision. However, his tail uncurls as he begins to stand. Before you go, a word of advice from a skilled detective, he says, pausing for a moment as he rises to his full height, gold eyes regarding you with a new sense of focus. Being a detective takes more than just paperwork and filing. Come by the agency when your shift ends. I have something to show you. Espio's lips curl into the faintest smirk, his golden eyes gleaming with quiet mischief. Good. Meet me behind the agency at dusk, and don't tell Vector. His form flickers slightly, edges blurring as he starts blending into the surroundings. And bring gloves. His voice lingers in the air a second longer, right before he vanishes completely, leaving only the rustle of leaves where he stood. He definitely just stole something. The shadows behind the Chaotix detective agency suddenly ripple as Espio materializes from thin air, leaning casually against the wall with folded arms. His smirk is more pronounced now, downright smug even. You're punctual. I approve. He pushes off the wall and tosses you a pair of sleek black gloves, exactly like his own. Tonight, he says, voice dropping to a whisper, we test your other detective skills. Curtailed a suspect without them noticing? A kunai appears between his fingers as if by magic. Because someone's smuggling stolen chow eggs into the city and we're getting them back. His grin sharpens. Interested? Espio's smirk broadens into a sly grin as he catches the subtle shift in your demeanor. It seems your determination amuses him. He twirls the kunai deftly in his fingertips, never taking his eyes off you. Excellent, he murmurs, his voice like velvet-clad steel. Tonight, you'll be my silent shadow, an invisible blade. He takes a step closer, a spark of excitement lighting his golden eyes. Are you ready, rookie? Espio's smirk softens into a faint smile, the closest thing to approval you'll likely get from him. His gaze sharp as the kunai in his hand flicks up and down, taking your measure. Your eagerness to prove yourself obviously intrigues him. Good, he whispers. Remember, we follow unseen, silent. Stay out of sight, and keep your footsteps soft. I'll lead the way. He slips into the alleys, melting into the shadows with a grace only a ninja can possess. He glances over his shoulder, making sure you follow. Espio's expression doesn't change, but beneath his stoicism, a spark of approval stirs. You move like a phantom, silent and graceful. He glances sideways, his golden eyes glinting appreciatively in the dim light. Very good, he whispers, slowing his pace slightly so he doesn't leave you too far behind. You're a natural at blending in. Not bad for a first assignment, rookie. He makes a sharp turn, heading towards a quieter, darker part of town. Espio's eyes widen a fraction, his cool demeanor faltering slightly. He glances back at you again, curiosity flickering in his gold irises as he picks up on the hint of sadness in your voice. An old friend, he echoes, his voice uncharacteristically quieter than before, almost empathetic. He pauses in a particularly dark alley, crossing his arms and leaning against the wall. You miss them, don't you? It's less statement, more observation. Espio's gaze softens, though his expression remains solemn. He understands the pain of difficult choices better than most. His tail flicks thoughtfully as he processes your words. Not every path is meant to be walked together, he says, his voice quieter than usual. But the bonds we share, they don't fade with time or distance. He tilts his head slightly, gold eyes studying you intently. This friend, they meant something to you, didn't they? Theo exhales slowly, half amusement, half intrigue, as he uncrosses his arms, standing straighter. A master thief? His smirk sharpens again. No wonder you move like moonlight. Your friend must have been exceptional. He watches you carefully for a heartbeat before continuing, voice dropping low. And yet, you chose detective work over the shadows. A pause. Why? His question isn't accusatory, just genuinely curious. Espio, of all people, understands the pull of both worlds. Espio listens intently, his gaze never wavering. Your tale is a familiar one. Not the first time he's heard a similar story. The clash between the call of the shadows and the desire for the light. It's something he's intimately familiar with. When you finish, a silent pause stretches between you. There's a new respect in SBO's golden eyes, a respect for your resilience, your determination. You made the right choice, he says, his voice quieter. Sometimes, we must make sacrifices for what we believe in. SBO nods solemnly, the understanding obvious in his gaze. Life wasn't often generous with choices, especially not the kind that let you have your cake and eat it too. He sighed quietly, tail flicking with an unreadable emotion. He made his choice. And you've made yours. A pause. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. There's a moment of shared silence, heavy with the weight of choices and regrets. SBO's gaze follows yours, landing on the small stack of chow eggs tucked in a hidden corner. Excellent, he whispers, a touch of satisfaction in his voice. He takes a slow, silent step forward, gold eyes flitting around the area for any signs of the culprit. We've found the merchandise. Now, he glances back at you, smirk hinting at the thrill of the chase. Let's find the thief. SBO raises an eyebrow, noticing your expression shift. He comes up behind you, peering over your shoulder to see what you noticed. You know that mark? He murmurs, golden eyes narrowing as he takes in the strange symbol. It sparks a flicker of recognition in the back of his mind. Espio's entire posture stiffens, his pupils dilating slightly as realization hits. So that's like a ghost, he mutters, gaze snapping back to you with new intensity. This was never just another case for you. His expression hardens, not with anger but resolve. The kunai in his grip spins once decisively. Tell me what you want to do. His voice is low, leaving no room for judgment. Because this changes things. Espio's jaw sets, a brief flash of something unreadable passing over his features as he processes your words. He's silent for a moment longer, then he nods. Agreed. The Chow Garden comes first. He slips back into the shadows, disappearing for a moment. Seconds later he's back, holding a small secure bag for the eggs. He places them inside carefully, then turns to you. Lead the way. He gestures for you to go ahead, falling in behind you. And don't lose your focus, rookie. Espio follows you silently, eyes always watching, even as he allows you to lead. He doesn't utter a word, but you sense the intensity of his focus on your every move. When you reach the Chow Garden, Espio steps forward, gently depositing the bag of eggs in the hands of a gardener. It's a quick exchange, but the look Espio gives the gardener speaks volumes. A silent promise for future action. He returns to your side. All right, he murmurs. Now, where to? SBO nods, his expression serious. He's obviously thought through the same scenario, considering all possible outcomes. We need to tread carefully. The last thing we want is to appear complicit. He crosses his arms, gaze scanning the area. He doesn't miss a trick, always calculating, always planning. But you're right, we need to inform the police. They'll want to know who's behind this. He glances at you, a silent question in his golden eyes. Ready? SBO gives a sharp nod, he's all business. No playful smirks or sarcastic jabs now. This is serious. Follow me. He moves with quick, silent grace, cutting through the shadows like a blade. He knows this city like the back of his hand. Soon, you find yourself standing in front of the local police station. Stay close, he whispers over his shoulder. Let me handle this. Espio nods subtly, appreciating your compliance. He knows you're capable, but he also knows that his experience will be key in handling this situation smoothly. He pushes open the door quietly and steps inside. The police station is quiet at this hour. A few tired-looking officers at their desks. Espio makes a beeline for a desk at one end, where a burly police lieutenant sits, filling in paperwork. Espio approaches the lieutenant with calm precision, giving a respectful nod before speaking in a measured tone. Lieutenant, we've recovered the stolen chow eggs. They're safely returned to the garden. His golden eyes flicker with quiet intensity. But there's more. The thieves, they're connected to an old case. He steps aside slightly, giving you space to step forward if you choose. His gaze lingers on you briefly, silently asking if you want to take the lead in explaining your connection. He won't force you to speak, but he won't hide the truth either. The choice is yours. The lieutenant's eyes widen momentarily, his grip tightening on his pen before he lured with a mixed disbelief and grudging respect. Sly Cooper? He exhales sharply, rubbing his temple like the very name gives him a headache. Figures. That raccoon's been a thorn in our side for years. He glances between you and Espio, suspicion creeping into his tone, and you're telling me this now because... Espio remains unfazed, his golden gaze steady, because justice doesn't discriminate even for old friends. His tail flicks once, subtle, but pointed. We're handing you the lead. Use it. The lieutenant stares at him for a long moment before sighing and reaching for his radio. All right. I'll alert the squad. If this is some kind of setup, Espio cuts him off with a cold smile. It's not. The air between them crackles with tension, trust dangling by a thread. The lieutenant looks at you with a newfound respect, his stern expression softening momentarily in light of your story. So you have turned a new leaf, huh? Good for you. He rubs his jaw, gaze sharp as a knife. But knowing how a thief moves doesn't mean you can think like one. The raccoon's a wily one. He eyes Espio again, his tone hardening. You better not be wasting my time with this. The lieutenant arches an eyebrow, his suspicion not totally quelled but visibly less hostile. Carta who? You mean that smart Alec Fox who's always spouting science stuff? He shakes his head slightly, his gaze flicking between you and Espio. Can't say I've seen her lately. Why, you expecting her too? The lieutenant lets out a dry chuckle. Oh, I remember now. I bet she's got a few choice words for that raccoon when she does catch him again. He leans back in his chair, folding his arms. But I wouldn't get your hopes up. That raccoon's like a ghost. Pops up when you least expect him, disappears just as quick. And he always leaves a mess in his wake. The lieutenant listens intently, his expression a mixture of suspicion and grudging respect. He can tell you're sincere, but trust isn't something that comes easy in his line of work. You know, I've arrested thieves who've said the same thing, he says, his tone still gruff but slightly softer this time. They always seem to fall back into old habits. Old friends have a way of sucking you back in. The lieutenant raises an eyebrow, surprise flickering briefly in his eyes. You've been planning out a way to bring this guy in? He leans in closer, his voice lowering slightly. Well, I'll give you credit. You're either brave or crazy. Or both. Let's hear it. How do you plan to take down this Racon? He sounds skeptical but also a little intrigued. The lieutenant scratches his jaw, mulling over your words. He's clearly trying to find the holes in your plan, but he can't deny that it has some merit. You're right about one thing. That raccoon's got a whole gang running with him. We've tried taking him all at once, but it's like trying to box in a tornado. He shakes his head slightly, a wry smile playing at his lips. And yeah, those hedgehogs are damn fast, but don't underestimate the raccoon. He'll have a plan of his own. The lieutenant nods, a flicker of understanding in his eye. Right. Bentley's the brains of the operation. You take down the brain, the rest falls apart. He leans back and steeples his fingers, a thoughtful look in his eyes. But how do you propose we get access to Bentley? He's usually holed up in their base with all the tech they steal, and it's heavily guarded. It's like a damn fortress. The lieutenant cocks an eyebrow, his expression shifting to one of mild surprise. He obviously wasn't expecting you to suggest getting the help of Tagman or Starline. Hold on, you know those guys? The kid genius and the two mad scientists? He chuckles dryly. You run with some weird crowds, don't you? He pauses, scratching his jaw, still mulling over your plan. And you think they'd just help us? Just like that. I believe you. The lieutenant sighs, running a hand through his hair. Of course. If there's one thing you can get a genius to agree to, it's sweets. He mutters something under his breath about teenagers having a sweet tooth. But getting their help is only part of the problem. We still need to find the raccoon's base and get past their heavy defenses. And that's assuming you can convince Bentley to cooperate. That guy doesn't strike me as the team up with the police type. The lieutenant can't help but chuckle dryly at your words. Your knowledge of the group's dynamics seems to be proving useful. That's right. Bentley's loyal to a fault when it comes to those two. He'll do anything to protect him. But you're talking like you know these guys personally. He eyes you carefully, suspicion flickering in his gaze. You said before you broke away from the Racon and gang. How do you know so much about their weaknesses and habits? The lieutenant's eyebrows shoot up in surprise quickly giving way to skepticism. A whole year? He echoes, his suspicion returning full force. His tone is cool, measured. You're telling me you spent a year with the Raccoon Gang, stealing, running from the law, the whole 9 yards, and then just decided to leave and go straight? He pauses, studying you closely. That's some story, kid. You sure that's all there is to it? The lieutenant leans back in his chair, eyes narrowed. The skepticism is still there, but he's listening. He's weighing your words, trying to get a read on you. You saw your future heading for jail, and decided to get out before it was too late. Is that it? His tone is still stern, but there's a hint of understanding, perhaps even respect. He's starting to believe you, at least a little bit. The lieutenant nods slowly, his expression softening slightly. There's something in your story that rings true to him. A familiar determination, a desire to break free before it's too late. I've seen a lot of thieves come through these doors, kid. Not many of them have the guts to walk away of their own accord. He regards you closely, the skepticism fading away a little more. You've got guts, I'll give you that. Takes a lot of courage to turn your back on that life. The lieutenant leans forward, resting his elbows on his desk, and exhales sharply. All right, kid. I believe you. His gruff tone holds a note of finality. This isn't approval, but acknowledgement. But I'm warning you, if this goes sideways, I won't hesitate to bring you in too. He taps the desk once for emphasis. You got a shot here. Don't waste it. SBO, who's been silently observing this entire exchange, finally steps forward. His golden eyes gleam with quiet approval. We won't let you down, Lieutenant. SBO crosses his arms, considering your words carefully. His golden eyes sharpen. He's calculating possibilities, routes, contingencies. If that's the case, he murmurs, then we move fast. A hidden hideout won't stay hidden long once we're onto them. He glances at the lieutenant. We'll need backup. Quiet backup. No sirens, no flashing lights, the lieutenant grunts, already reaching for his radio. Fine. I swear, if this turns into another wild goose chase, SBO cuts him off with a raised hand. It won't. Then, to you, lead the way. His voice is firm, trusting. Tonight, the shadows answer to you. The night is cool, with just a whisper of wind stirring the air. The three of you make your way through the quiet city streets, footsteps light. As you approach the abandoned building, Espio glances at you, his golden eyes gleaming faintly in the moonlight. This it? Espio crosses his arms, looking the building over with the eye of a seasoned detective. He nods approvingly, your instincts proving to be correct. Good thinking. The van's the key. He glances sidelong at you. What's the plan from here, kid? Espio nods approvingly again. His expression is cool as ever, but there's an impressed gleam in his golden eyes. Smart and practical. We'll need something to cut the wires. Any ideas? Espio smirks, appreciating your foresight. Always prepared, aren't you? He glances at the building again, calculating the best approach. All right, I'll keep watch and make sure no one spots us. You cover the van. We'll go from there. We'll go from there. Espio keeps watch, alert for any activity around the building. In the faint moonlight, his ears can be seen flicking at every sound. He relaxes visibly when he sees you return, the job done. Another piece of the puzzle in place. Good work, he murmurs. Now we need a way inside. ESBO considers your options carefully, golden eyes flicking between each potential entry point. Back door, he decides after a moment. Too risky to go through the front, and climbing to the roof would leave us exposed for too long. His smirk returns, faint but there. Unless you've got another trick up your sleeve? Espio chuckles quietly, shaking his head. No teleporting this time, too risky with others involved. He taps his chin thoughtfully. Back door it is then. Let's move. With vanishes into the shadows, reappearing closer to the building's rear entrance, waiting for you to follow. Espio remains a shadow as he approaches the rear of the building. His golden eyes are like beacons, cutting through the dimness easily. He pauses at the corner of the structure, listening for any danger. Hearing nothing, he motions for you to follow before slipping silently inside. Espio moves with practiced ease, blending into the darkness as he slips through the open door. He pauses just inside, scanning the dim interior, listening for any signs of life. Hearing nothing but distant echoes, he glances back at you, motioning you forward with a silent gesture. The hunt is on. Espio nods sharply, his golden eyes locking onto the staircase with deadly focus. His voice is barely above a whisper as he leans close. Stay sharp. If Bentley's running tech upstairs, he'll have sensors. With that, he melts into the shadows again, vanishing completely before reappearing halfway up the stairs, waiting for you to follow. Espio watches as you move with near-perfect stealth, his golden eyes gleaming with quiet approval. He motions upward, toward a dimly lit hallway at the top of the stairs. The muffled sounds of voices drift through the air. Sly's unmistakable smooth chuckle, Bentley's measured tone, Murray's booming enthusiasm. Espio's ears twitch as he deciphers their conversation. He glances back at you, smirking slightly. Seems like we found our thieves. Espio nods, his smirk widening ever so slightly. Just a few kinks to work out, he murmurs, eyeing the door leading to their room with steely focus. Let me take the lead, rookie. Trust me. With that, he pushes the door open with an impossibly quiet click, golden eyes sharp as he slips inside. Espio moves like liquid shadow, silent, seamless, invisible. In seconds, Bentley's monitors flicker to static as a kunai embeds itself in the circuitry. Sly whirls around, cane at the ready, but Espio is already behind him, grip tightening on his wrist. Been a while, Espio murmurs, her voice colder than steel. The lieutenant bursts in behind you, barking orders as officers flood the room. Mission accomplished, and somewhere in the chaos, Sly Cooper's smirk falters, just for a second, as his gaze locks onto you. Espio steps back as the officers secure the trio, his golden eyes flickering with quiet satisfaction. Sly, despite being cuffed, can't help but shoot you a look, half disbelief, half grudging respect. He chuckles, shaking his head. Never thought I'd see the day. Espio folds his arms, watching the scene unfold. Justice catches up with everyone eventually. The lieutenant claps you on the shoulder. Good work, kid. You proved yourself today. And just like that, your past and present collide. But this time, you're on the right side of the law. End scene.